I've sold one course 13,500 times. This course is the reason that I have been selling out retreats, doubling my participants each and every single time, and why I now run a multiple six-figure business, $500,000 every single year for the past 3 years. What I did when I was building it, how I market it, and how I continue to sell it. In this episode, I'm gonna give it all to you. In the show notes, there is going to be a checklist so that you can create this too for your business. Building out funnels is actually really simple when you are the embodiment of your work. Let's dive in. Where did the Sold Out Retreat mini course even come from? Where did the idea even manifest? Well, to be honest, it was not the Sold Out Retreat mini course, which is something I'm going to walk you through in further videos. So be sure that you're following along, because when I launched the Sold Out Retreat mini course, it was actually called the Profitable and Impactful mini course, but that wasn't selling. Today, what I want to do is share with you where this idea even came from in the beginning. I always say, and I will always be behind, get yourself into the rooms, whether it's online or in person, do both, especially in person. This will collapse timelines for you. But as I was a student in one of my masterminds at the time, I had just burnt my entire business to the ground because I was 6 months postpartum with my first child. And I couldn't keep doing sales calls. Before him, I was taking 8 sales calls a day, and I knew that was not sustainable as a brand new mother. So I was in this mastermind for learning how to do sales transparently. When one of my peers asked our coach at the time what to do about her retreat that wasn't selling. And in this moment, my coach had shared she just canceled her retreat. A multi-$6 million business had canceled her retreat because it wasn't selling. And as I was doing what Amber always does, coaching in the chat, just sharing my heart, not even thinking about it, my peers were like, Amber, why don't you create a course on how to sell out retreat? And I was like, I never even thought about that before. 2022, I had no idea what even creating a course looked like because I had never done that before. In 2022, there wasn't anyone doing this. I went into the Facebook library database and there were 0 people creating courses on how to create, launch, and sell out retreats. But so many people were struggling with how to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I struggled to sell out my retreats for years. That's how I accidentally became a coach in the online space. At this time, I had already been leading retreats for 7 years. But the reason that I even ended up on my first ever webinar or sales call was because I wanted to sell out my retreats. And that's when I discovered creating a funnel was the easiest way to sell out your retreat. This is what birthed the course, because after I created my first online program and sold it in 2 years to 125 people, the old sales strategy way, I was effortlessly selling out my retreat. So then what I did was I took this idea where I was already good at it. Like, what are you already doing right now for free, or that you could talk about for hours, that you're already talking about for hours? That's the course, right? You don't even need to look up anything about it. It's like if I asked you about retreats, if I asked you about money, if I asked you about embodiment, if I asked you about nutrition, if I asked you about fitness, you would just be like, blah, 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 blah. That's what I was doing with my fingertips in the chat that day when everyone reflected back to me, Amber, you should create a course on this. What's that reflection for you? And then go create a course on that. Because after this course was created, that's when everything in my business changed. Doing something you've never done before is messy. There I was, 6 months postpartum with a brand new baby, and I was like, if I create a course that thousands of people go through, I want it to be amazing. This was the best, most intentional course that I had ever created. I spent many nights in the backseat of my car with the windows up, recording every single training because one, I didn't want to wake up my newborn baby, and two, the jungle is loud. I wanted them to be able to get the best sound quality, and I didn't want to disturb my child. It was messy. But what I did was go into Canva and I created slides, everything that I would teach off of. I sat in the back seat of my car and I recorded the video training on top. I built out the entire funnel and I went and I launched it to the Facebook ads world because that's how I had been doing sales calls. I was running ads to a webinar and then taking sales calls on the back end. I had never ran ads to purchase something before. And I spent 8 months running ads to a course that kind of sold every couple days. And after 8 months, I was $3,000 in the negative. The course was selling, but not really. And I had this call with a Facebook ad strategist. And he said to me, what if you change what you're selling in the back end rather than the sales page, rather than the Facebook ads, rather than what everyone is seeing in the front end of the funnel? What if you change the back end of the funnel? And that's when light bulbs went off. But it wasn't until I had a nervous system breakdown, just as I had many times launching my retreats with not a very strong funnel. In the beginning, I was teaching yoga in Colorado. When I moved to Costa Rica, sold everything I owned to start my retreat business, I didn't realize not teaching 16 yoga classes a week was going to be a very challenging way for me to live in the jungle and still have other people find out about who I am and what I do. As I was selling my retreats, it was always 30 days before I had 0 to a couple people signed up and like my nervous system shaking, like wondering where the people were gonna come. They always eventually came. But once I set up a funnel and I started selling my online embodiment mentorship, my funnel began to sell out my retreats for me. As I transitioned from Facebook ad, webinar, sales call to Facebook ad, purchase, email sequence, the light bulb moment happened, but it was after the nervous system breakdown when I was $3,000 in debt. And 8 months in, I was down south in Pavones. And that's when I asked myself, is this something you're gonna give up on? You've already had many people go through this course and tell you how good it is. You know that people need this. Is there ever a story where it doesn't work out? And it was just me with me. I was like, no. So I turned the ads back on. I hired another Facebook ad strategist when he said, what about the back end of the funnel? The next month, I had a $20,000 month just by changing the email sequence. Birthing this course into the world took all of me. After the 8 months, having my first 20K month from this funnel specifically, and then another $30,000 month, I spent the next couple of years keeping consistent revenue. I had dropped to $60,000 in a year. When I made this energetic shift, I had that conversation with myself. I was doing Kundalini Kriyas to keep myself in line with the vision. Some days in the shower crying, it's not working. And other days in the shower like dancing, it's working, it's working, it's all working out. It's working out better than I could have ever imagined. Would literally sing that song in the shower, do my Kundalini Kriyas, stay devoted to the mission. And in 6 months, I went to $270,000. Just by tweaking the back end of the funnel. Since then, I have consistently brought in $500,000 from this one course. It was messy in the beginning. I was testing it organically with my Instagram account. This is something that I teach inside of Rich Reels That Sell. Anything that worked organically, I started charging it with Facebook ads, which is what I call business blown up, taking what works organically and putting ad spend behind it. Because if it's going to work organically, it will almost always work with ads. And for those of us that aren't used to spending money and we're used to spending time, the nervous system sometimes doesn't feel safe. But as an entrepreneur, you're either spending time or you're spending money. And I'm the entrepreneur that's like, let's do both to collapse timelines and reach our goal. I went into this process of birthing the Sold Out Retreat mini course thinking thousands of people will go through it. And I made sure that when people got into the course, it was exceptional. Many people in the online space are teaching, give them just a little bit so they have to buy the next thing. I don't have an upsell for the Sold Out Retreat mini course. There's 10 plus hours inside. But when they go through the course, it's like, do you want to do it by yourself or do you want to do it with me? And that's where people go on to hire me. I think Amber for abundance. I'm always over giving. I'm always over delivering. I want to give all that I have. And then if you don't want to do it by yourself, that's when you hire me. And after I realized that the Sold Out Retreat mini course wasn't just a multi six-figure revenue stream, it was now the reason that my retreats were selling out. I wasn't having to be the sales system. I wasn't having to be online on Instagram. It was the reason that everything in my business got easier. So then I do what I have done since I began my business. I said, let's teach other people how to create funnels. Because once you create a funnel, your retreat starts to sell out effortlessly. And with a funnel, you now have a multi six-figure income stream alone, and it's super easy to tweak. I spend 1 to 3 hours in my Facebook ads. There's always something that I'm in there playing with, but it's not because I have to. It's because I want to refine it and I master it. In October of 2025, I redid, not because I had to, because I desired to, I redid the entire Sold Out Retreat mini course. Because after 3 years, it was a little outdated and I'd learned so much about leading sold out retreats. I upgraded it. And as I upgraded it, I also strategically started planting the seeds inside of the Sold Out Retreat mini course about the cash flow catalyst, how to build one offer that you are so embodied in that it sells for you anything else you decide to create. I work with multi-passionate. And if we're jumping from one idea to another, something hasn't landed yet to make your business work for you. If you're someone that knows you want to lead in-person experiences, you want to have a multi-six-figure business, you don't always want to be online, funnels are the answer. Ask me anything in the comments about building out your first funnel, and I will make videos just for those that leave comments. And if you're not already following Amber Hagberg, the business midwife, be sure that you do so. I drop brand new episodes just like this every Tuesday. This is where we become limitless in the body and the bank account through mastering the human and mastering the funnel. I will talk to you in the next episode.